Okay, just wants to give a quick overview of my script islands for the Norns. Okay, first of all, a few caveats. Islands is definitely a work in progress. It comes from an idea that I had before I even got my Norns. I wanted to be able to just sit and play and improvise. And the way my music practice works, I kind of have sequences or loops or whatever and then play against them. So very much a work in progress. This is kind of a very early release. I'm calling it 0.1. It's definitely subject to change until I get to version 1. And there are quite a lot of things I want to change, which I'm sure I will talk about as I walk you through it. Okay, so let's have a very quick fly through. This isn't really the manual. I'll add some notes in the Git repo, but I just wanted to give a feel for it. So first and foremost, it's based currently on the FM7 script engine that, and I can't remember the forum user's name, but I will credit it. I must say the code borrows heavily from a whole bunch of people, as you'll see, and there are places where you think it might borrow and I've actually re-implemented it, like the Earthsea stuff is kind of largely derived from my code, although it is driven and influenced very heavily by Ten's work. Okay, so FM7 engine, there are definitely going to be changes to the engine. I want to add modulation, I want to add some proper noise. FM feedbacky noise just doesn't do it for me. So I want some modulation, I want some movement, probably going to add a filter because you can be a purist about these things, but FM plus a filter works. It might not be, the scientifically pure synthesis that some people might want, but so that FM plus a filter sounds nice to me. Right, so what have we got? We've got a multi-timbral engine divided into 4 separate layers. The main interface is the familiar, so everything except the bottom row is the familiar Earthsea layout. The keys are coloured according to the scale set in Kriya, and we'll have a look at that later. So we've got 4 separate layers, and that's switched here. So that's the first one. That's a patch based on a magazine article from the Brian Eno one. It actually sounds quite good considering it's not it's just very roughly adapted. So you can see we can switch between them nice and easily, which is one of the things I wanted. Secondly, we've got 2 currently soft cut loopers built in. They're not going to stay soft cut because they loop the sequencer notes. I want the sequencer and the looper to be able to work independently. So these, sadly, because soft cut's absolutely excellent, will have to move back into Supercollider unless I can find a way of doing some jiggery pokery with the Norns routing, but I suspect they're just going to have to move back into Supercollider. So the way these work is, and this is a very common interface pattern in islands, if you hold something down you get settings, and if there's 2 settings you've got the 2 buttons. So we also the button and loop. Now the way these work, let's set it just something short for illustrative purposes. You press the button and it records into it. that decay setting operates even when it's not recording into. So I'm not recording into it at the moment, but it's still fading away. That's because I kind of quite like that sound on sound Fruitronics thing. And obviously on a long delay they kind of fade away. Just not, that doesn't work for me. This works for me. If you want it to be a loop that doesn't fade away, you just set it to 1 and it will just stay playing forever. And when you want to get rid of it, you just set the decay to 0 and it will go after the next loop. You've got 2 of these, so we've got 2 loops, and because they're different lengths, you get a phasing effect, which is kind of nice. And again, this is for Fruitronics kind of play mechanism. Oh, there's another note that's worth knowing. There are definitely some bugs in this when you switch between layers and sequences and things, as we'll see. This button here, although it isn't coloured and isn't documented, kills all notes. Very useful. On the odd occasion you get a big swelly thing that you can't turn off. There is a preset mechanism for each layer, so let's say I want to save this in somewhere. You hold the button down, and if you let go of it, nothing happens, right? So I can press the button, nothing happens. If I change this to a number, let's put this in 7, slot 7, then that writes that in there. I can load something else. That sounds very similar, but I think that's probably good. There you go. I think that's probably because that's where I got the sound from in the first place. So if I want to load it, I can load that sound back again. There's 30 slots currently. I'm contemplating, because you've got 2 buttons, I could put some banks, 30 slots banks. I'm not a big fan of presets, but on the other hand, my DX7 my FM programming skills are not superb, so we shall see. Okay, so that's your basic thing. If you want to work on the sound, here we go into the programmer. Now this kind of lays out the and we've just got 1 page at the moment. Now one of the things I want to do, we've got very simple ADSR envelopes. I want to add in proper multi-stage looping envelopes. So starting on the left, you have and the way these work is you press the button for a parameter and then you can edit it. Some places there are 2 parameters, and then in which case the one in brackets is edited by the right button. So starting on the left, you've got, for each of the 6 operators, you've got its output volume. So if I wanted 6 to sound, now the other thing to note is this sort of second one in here just plays a random note, which is kind of useful. So if I want to increase the volume of 6, now you probably can't hear it because it's the same frequency. Let's make it a slightly. Now the next bit is the matrix. So imagine 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 across the top, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 across there. So if I want to alter the amount that operator 1 affects operator 6, I press that button. You can see they get brighter depending on the value. We've got operator 2 doing something or other here, so let's then you've got the frequency. At the moment it's just 1 to 5. The original DX7 does 1 to 10, so I need to investigate that because I don't know whether that's the emulation's different, or I've just implemented it wrong. Like I say, I've kind of borrowed the script. I haven't really done a huge amount to it. There's a number of things I want to do to it that not really necessarily FM kind of things either. You also have the phase, should you want to alter it. And then you've got the amplitude, which is kind of the overall amplitude. And this is the amount velocity affects it. Obviously velocity is oh no, that's not true actually. Velocity you can alter on the front panel. It also takes MIDI in, so if you've got, and it's MIDI channels 1, 2, 3, 4 at the moment. That'll all be configurable at a future point. But so if you put a MIDI keyboard in, you've got velocity from the grid. Obviously it's not velocity sensitive, so you've got a setting. I really want to look. Maybe a touche, something like that. I don't know. Yeah, that's anyway. Future. And then you've got your envelopes, and your envelopes are really simple at the moment. You've just got a DSR, and that's it for the moment. It definitely is going to expand. I'm going to use this space here to switch you there. I'm thinking of making this row a miniature keyboard, so instead of the random note, you've actually got a slice of this. Which would mean you can play and program at the same time, which I think would be quite nice. At the moment you've just got this random note thing. Right, and then the last thing at the moment, so you switch between programmer and the keyboard with key 2. And key 3 puts you into Kriya. Kriya is routed currently. Again, there will be configuration because I want Crow and MIDI support, but currently it just goes to layers 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I put some things in here, we've got a sequencer. And we can switch back. Hold on, it's too noisy. Oh, one thing I forgot to tell you about. Just turn it down a minute. One thing I've got to tell you about is you can octave up and down this grid. Hold on, let's let's turn this off. You can go up and down 5 octaves. There's yeah, -2 and +2 and where you are, which is kind of useful. So the other thing worth noting is that if we're going to Creo, the scale function, so we've got same as Creo MIDI, we've got the root note, and we've got for transpose, and we've got the this mechanism here where you've got different set scales, and you can again, it's the same, exactly the same as Creo MIDI because it's the same code. Doesn't save them at the moment. I'm going to look at all of that fairly soon. As you can see, I'm actively working on this stuff. So if I've changed this, we're now C, D, E flat. Interestingly, I use sharps here and I've used flat on the note display, which you'll see in a sec. So there's an E flat there. I've just used a little B for an E flat. So you can see that's that scale, B flat, yeah. I will change the Creo thing to use those flats because A, they're readable, and B, no one thinks about A sharp or D sharp. It's E flat and B flat, isn't it? Oh well, there you go. The things that you do when you're implementing things. So yes, that's nice. So we can switch scales. So we're back to C major. You can see him. And there you go. That's kind of it for the moment. There, like I say, loads more developments planned. I want Crow integration so I can run it with my modular. I've joined a Scratch orchestra, and viruses notwithstanding, my intention is for my improvisation rig to be this, a row of a skiff of modular, and possibly another synth like the Micro Freak or something. It'll give me quite a wide variety of sound sources, all controllable from sequenceable from here if I want to sequence, or playable from here if I want to play, and the looping facility. This needs a mixer, which I'll do in Supercollider. Basically, and I want some effects. There'll be a delay and a reverb and some other bits and places, because basically it's all a little bit static with the FM. It definitely needs some LFOs for a start. So all that to look forward to. Like I say, work in progress, all subject to change, and the code's a bit of a mess if you're looking at the code, because I'm still settling it. I don't really want to refactor it until I've used it in anger. So it'll all come. But I wanted to get it out there because it's actually nice to play. I've been making quite a lot of music using it. And when I've learned to play it a bit better, I'll make a proper video for my proper channel.